Welcome back to the ALeeT Podcast. I'm Mr. ALeeT. I'm changing things up a little bit based off some intel that my music might be a little bit of a nuisance. I hope y'all enjoy this. If not, let me know on Instagram at _ALeeT_podcast. This is me taking accountability. See? I like to at least try to practice what I preach. You'll see later that Master Yoda would be so disappointed because of the doing part. It's kind of hard. Disclaimer: none of the things that are said here represent the United States Space Force, the Department of the Air Force, or the Department of Defense. They are mine and mine alone. Back to the topic. Speaking of accountability, that's the topic of this week's episode. Accountability versus blame. Everyone loves to point fingers, but let's talk about what accountability really looks like. Here's a quick roadmap of what's to come in this episode. Goals, life domains, actions, military lessons, and of course, with football season coming and college football starting this weekend, I will provide y'all with a football analogy. Perhaps this will truly bring it home for y'all. Segment 1. Accountability and your goals. Webster's dictionary defines accountability as the quality or state of being accountable, specifically an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions. Webster's dictionary defines blame as a verb to find fault with or to hold responsible, and as a noun, an expression of disapproval or the responsibility for something that fails. Let's take a look at how that bounces up against last week's topic of SMART goals. Let's say you wanted to lose 20 pounds by the end of the year. Then, a tragedy happened in your family around Halloween. Depression kicks in and you eat far more than you should have at Thanksgiving. December starts off with an injury to your foot, so you're bedridden for a week and go back to work, and end of year reports start to creep in. Then, the holidays. Usually the family member who was taken in that terrible tragedy was the one who hosted Christmas, so you sink further into your depression. Gluttony reigns, and you find yourself 15 pounds heavier on 1 January than you were when you first decided to lose the weight. So what happened here? Was your goal specific? Yes. Was it measurable? Yes. Was it attainable? Yes. Was it realistic? Let's circle back to that. Was it time-based? Yes. Let's take a gander back at Zahariadis' P.R.I.M.E.R. or P.R.I.M.E.R method. Did you pinpoint your objective? Yes. Did you refine the details? Yes. Did you identify the obstacles? Yes, but they changed. Did you modify your plan? No. Did you evaluate progress? No. Did you revisit and reset? That's a big no. This is why we can't just look at SMART goals when applying the Strength, Power, Unity, and Growth or SPUG method. We must also look at the P.R.I.M.E.R method. Why? You can set the smartest goal in the world, but if you never adapt when life hits you with a curveball or a slider, all you've really done is write a really pretty obituary for your progress. We must own the process as much as we own the outcome. We must hold ourselves accountable for our own wellness and our own goals. If you shift blame, you are only hurting your own growth. Let's take a further look at accountability in practice. Segment 2. Accountability in life roles. We all have various things in life that we are accountable for besides our own wellness. I believe one dip in the SPUG well is enough for this episode. Let me take a look under the hood and let's mention some things that you are most likely to be accountable for as an adult human being in a first world country on planet Earth. If you're a parent, you're accountable for your kid's well-being and guidance. If you're at Walmart and your kid is running amok, it isn't the associate's job to watch after your kid. It is your responsibility to do this. You are responsible for feeding them and ensuring that they get whatever they need out of life, whether that's comfort or a scolding. If you're a pet owner, or as I like to say, a fur mommy or daddy, then you are accountable for the pet's behavior, training, grooming, medical updates, food, water, and shelter. Not to mention their bathroom habits and their entertainment. If you don't train your dog not to tear up the furniture when you're gone, or your cat not to knock stuff off the counters, the little munchkin isn't gonna learn it on their own. My dog Jax keeps failing to teach his fur daddy to stop barking at the garbage truck. Instead, he just joins in. Silly dog. Accountability 0, barking 100. Whether you work at a job, you're a house husband, housewife, or you live the weird life where you work from home, you are accountable for everything you signed up to do. You most likely have a set amount of hours you are required to work each week. You have a set time you're supposed to be there. You have deadlines to turn things in. If you're late on a suspense, who's accountable? You. If you own or rent a home, you have certain responsibilities. You have to pay the rent/mortgage on time. You have to pay the utilities, keep up phone payments, keep the internet going, put food in the house, make sure that you take care of repairs, whether that's calling someone or doing it yourself. I keep wishing someone else would come pull my weeds, but I know I am responsible. I just keep pushing it off to futurely. Each version hasn't done it yet this summer, but I'll get to it when I get to it. Preferably this weekend. Is your check engine light on in your car? Whose responsibility is it to take the car in for inspection? Do you need gas? An oil change? Did y'all feel like I was preachy during that segment? That's kind of the point. It's not to make you feel bad though. Trust me, I have some things that are nagging me about each of those things. However, the point was most people are generally okay with taking accountability for those things. What they're usually not okay with is taking accountability for their actions. So segment 3, you guessed it, accountability for your actions. The hardest thing to do is to choose your words. Military members pride themselves in the use of certain choice words. Myself, I have used some words 5 times in a sentence that have 5 other words. Yeah, I have a potty mouth. Amazing how I have not dropped a single F-bomb on this podcast to date. That's largely because A, I don't want to get canceled, and B, I want a larger audience. However, let's think about it in a different context. There's not just word choice, there's also tone and inflection. If you're intending to talk to someone about something easily understood but important and they ask you questions about it, don't fly off at them. Don't berate them for not understanding you from the onset. Most people have 11 billion things going on at one time and may not be thinking about you or your issue. Karen. Instead, walk in with a calm demeanor and explain it. Remember, the consequences of your actions are that person's ability to trust you. Don't do anything that will jeopardize or harm another person. I always take the golden rule into account: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. For those unable to dissect that into normal human speak, if you want someone to be nice to you, don't be a douche to them. Further, if you make a mistake, own it. I have my own personal stories dealing with that coming up toward the end, so I don't want to spoil it here. However, put your spiritual power into play here. Do not make a second mistake by blaming someone else. You know what? That does bring in a story here. A raw example of me almost fumbling accountability just this week. I promised at least 2 people that I was going to talk about it here, so let's go. As many of you know, and as several may have found out, I'm retiring from the military soon. This week, I had an appointment with a Veteran Service Organization officer, I guess. We call them VSOs, to make my Veterans Affairs or VA disability claim. Well, I'm old. I mean, kinda. This is my first laptop that does not have a CD drive. Every laptop that I've owned has had an SD drive, though. So I thought it would be normal to bring my medical records on an SD card. I found out the hard way that it's not. Strike one. Then, When I was in the VSO's office, I sent them an email that had my medical records. I had presented a list of my current issues that I was experiencing to make their search easier. Well, they found half of the things on that list. That means they didn't find the other half. I started placing the blame on my primary care manager, or PCM, as none of the appointments I had made over the last year were on there. Later, I was about to send the PCM a list of all the conditions that were not in my records when I realized that I had mistakenly sent the VSO my 2024 records and not the most recent ones that had almost all of my conditions. Strike two. So I sent the VSO the records I found and apologized and emailed my PCM to fix the one issue with my records that was not on there and should have been. A couple of days later, I checked back online and saw that my records were updated. I requested them and got them back rather quickly. I noticed that the condition was on there. Bet. I sent this new form to my VSO. After about an hour of trying to convince him that I had sent him the correct documents, I won't get into that, they emailed me that the file had been updated with all of my conditions. Base it. Now I can place blame on at least 3 people, either mentioned or not mentioned in the story, but there's only one person whose actions I can control. Mine. Why? Blame wastes time. Accountability buys solutions. What could I have done differently? First, I could have ensured that all of my conditions were under the diagnosis column. Little hint for those leaving the military, do this 8 months before you get out, just in case. It can take up to a month to get your records, and if something is wrong, it would be better if you have the time to fix it before submitting your claim at the 6-month mark. I got you. Second, I could have shelled out $10 extra and put everything on a USB flash drive. The amount of people who have scoffed at me for my use of an SD card when I told the story this week, I am not proud of. I mean, even you, my spugnacious warriors, I hear you over there. Now, this brings me to our next topic, where I wanted to fly off the handle at this person or that person. I held on to it. It does no good to place blame on others, and it does no good to give someone else your peace. Segment 4, accountability for your emotions. You are not responsible for others' emotions, but you are accountable for yours. Could I read an inflection in the text the VSO was sending me? Yes. I got a little testy, but what I wanted to say could have killed the rapport that I felt like we had built. If I could carry this into every conversation or every relationship I had, that would be wonderful. But sometimes I break. That is human, and I'm working on it. Just because someone says something unkind doesn't give you a pass to snap back. Accountability means pausing, then modeling how the interaction could have gone. Have y'all ever laid awake at night and thought about a conversation you had with someone earlier that day? I do that often, but we shouldn't have to. We should take accountability while we're in the moment. You can't change the emotions someone else met you with, but you can control yours. That is what we call emotional intelligence. Matching people's emotions is okay when they're excited about a promotion or a new venture, but if they're flying off the handle, it is not okay. Picture this. It's 10 p.m. on a Friday. It may or may have not been 2 weeks ago today. I was trying to make some extra money and keep my mind occupied. If y'all remember, I didn't have an episode 2 weeks ago, by delivering DoorDash. Well, I got an order request as I was passing the road I was supposed to turn on, so I had to go down to the next intersection and do a U-turn. When I got there, there was a white pickup down a little ways with his right turn signal on. Well, I got to the intersection first, so naturally, I had the right of way, as they were supposed to yield. Due to the sharp turn, I had a wide berth, leading to me being in the right lane. Well, my friend in the white pickup found this to be an affront to them. They honked at me. I honked back and made a friendly gesture toward them. They passed me and made the same friendly gesture while laying on their horn. I got mad and passed them and honked. When we got to the next intersection, I honked my horn and waved goodbye with the same gesture. There went my friend. No, what should I have done? Should I have just kept my cool and drove without showing off? They did not deserve my peace. To be honest, though, it kept me going through the next delivery. So, But you can win the horn war, but you'll lose your peace every single time. Now that I've told you about how I step inside a metal box and somehow lose my bearing, let's talk about my lessons from the military. Segment 5, Lessons from the Military. The Air Force's core values, which you could tie into spiritual wellness, are integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. How does accountability tie in here? Integrity means doing the right thing even when no one is looking. Taking accountability is doing the right thing. If you fail to perform your job to the standards that were set for you and you hold yourself accountable, you are putting this service before yourself. If you hold yourself accountable not only for your failures but also your triumphs, you are showing excellence in all that you do. In the Space Force, Guardians go by the 4 C's: courage, character, connection, and commitment. Holding other people accountable takes courage. Holding yourself accountable for your troops takes character. Holding your team accountable for the mission builds connection. Holding yourself and your team accountable, even off-duty, takes commitment. But truly, there is no such thing as off-duty, if you ask the right people. I may just be the right people. The biggest way this was drilled into me as a space operator was the debriefs after large training exercises and after each shift later on in my career. We would talk about what went right and what went wrong. Then we'd take the one that we thought could be usable for other crews and we'd debrief that. So you start with an outward focus. Why did blank not receive our data for blank missile out of blank location? We would start naming contributing factors. Once you get to the blame, go one up, and that is your root cause. It could be a system glitch, an overtasking, or Specialist Snuffy didn't get 8 hours of crew rest because they were playing video games with their girlfriend who lives in France. That actually did happen. And that's where the line between blame and accountability is sharp. Blame points the finger. Accountability finds the fix. Now, off of the serious stuff and onto something even more serious. Segment 6, the football analogy. Football is back, baby! Roll Tide and go Hawks! Okay, now, with that said, let me paint a scene for you. This could be any team on any given Sunday, or Saturday, or Thursday, or Friday, or Monday. Well, the MAC plays on Tuesdays, so let's just say any day not named after the planet Mercury. That's Wednesday, in case you didn't know. You're watching your favorite team. They didn't do so hot last year, but they just signed on a star running back, and he is all the hype coming out of fall camp. The offensive coordinator looks at the defensive coverage and thinks that the defense is running man-on-man coverage. The center snaps the ball to the quarterback, who hands it to the running back just before a defensive tackle swipes at the ball, forcing the running back to fumble on his first play. A cornerback, who was part of what was actually a firehouse blitz, rushes past the quarterback, scoops at the ball, and takes it all the way to the end zone for a touchdown. Tweets start coming in saying that the running back is terrible and he should never play another down of football. People get on Instagram calling for the backup quarterback, who called an audible once the OC told him the defensive placement to be put in. The crowd boos when the same players who just fumbled return to the field after an extra point and kickoff. The offensive coordinator is getting yelled at by the head coach on the sideline. Who's accountable? When does that come in? Was it Joe Schmo's fault for wearing his cap backwards while in line at the Chick-fil-A before getting home to watch the game? I'm telling y'all, I will not go to a Subway on a game day within 2 hours of the game ever again, especially on my birthday. You never know. But no, the ultimate accountability is practice. Planning for those things that life is going to throw at you. Life is the ball. You can't hand it off. You can't lateral it. You can't punt it. You carry it. And if you fumble, that's on you. But so is the chance to pick it back up and keep running. In closing, accountability equals strength. Accountability equals power. Accountability equals unity. Accountability equals growth. #SpugLife, baby. Hold yourself accountable for the actions and emotions that you exude. Hold yourself accountable for the things you are responsible for. If you're a parent, a coach, a teacher, a leader, a mentor, a subordinate, a friend, hold yourself and others accountable for your own and their own actions. If you see something wrong, tell the other person in a calm and polite manner. Call to action. This week, tell me in the comment section of my Instagram post a time when you should have held yourself accountable but didn't. A time when you held yourself accountable, and a time when you held someone else accountable for their actions. Or any of the three. Just somebody, please, can y'all talk to me on my Instagram? I'd really freaking like it. Please, 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 please. Accountability isn't punishment. It's ownership. And ownership is freedom. And freedom, that's the win. Now be like Jameis Winston and eat that dub. Next week, we will discuss pride. Why some people think it's bad, but why it is so good when enveloped in spug. That's all we have this week. So until then, stay spug and elite.